Hello, everyone. How is everyone this evening? Hi, Martina, Indigo, Asha, Brian PC. So I apologize if there's any sound. So my roommate's going to be walking around, so I apologize if it's loud. But how is everyone doing this evening? Good? Miss Blaze, Effie, how are you? Everyone doing okay? Today I'm wearing my Zero shirt because it's 25 years of Zero from Smashing Pumpkins. Thank you. It's Color Pop. It's Color Pop. So are we ready to get started? How is everyone's doing good? Good? Okay. Ooh. So does anybody know anything a little bit about the case of Junko Furuta? Put a 1 in the chat. Anybody? I got my cup of coffee in my fancy coffee cup where all the cool kids use, the office ones. So anybody know anything about this case? We got Effie knows a little bit about it. I know I told Asha a little bit about it. I will teach you. Well, this will be interesting then. Okay. So we are going to look at what this case is called. She's known as the girl encased in concrete. And I know like a lot of people who do this kind of stuff, like the true crime thing, really like to focus on like the vulgarity of the situation, like shock factor and stuff like that, guys. But I'm not going to show any pictures that show anything gruesome. Just because I feel like after reading this, kind of feel a little close to this girl, just because like it's really sad what happened to her. I feel bad if I was her mother, knowing that my daughter's legacy is known as the girl encased in concrete. So I kind of feel bad that I even started off with that. So I apologize to Junko's mom or any of her family. They'll never see this, but I apologize about doing that. But we're gonna get started. So let's go. Yeah, smash the like button. Okay. So before we even start, Asha knows as well. Today's show is not appropriate for anyone under the age of 18. Strong adult topics will be discussed, including but not limited to extreme violence, sexual assault, rape, murder, and torture, as well as other unsettling themes not suitable for all audiences and may be triggering for certain individuals. Viewer discretion is advised. So yeah, disclaimer. Hi Ray J, we have a disclaimer. Also, if the mods could drop my my chat dono thing, not expected, but appreciated. So let's go. So yeah, if you guys don't eat anything, if you're triggered by any of these topics, I highly, highly, highly do not recommend. Yeah. So this is Junka Furuta. She was a 17-year-old girl from Misato, Saitama Prefecture in Japan. She was in high school getting ready to graduate. She lived at home with her parents and her two brothers, one a younger brother and one an older brother. She was very well liked in school. She had a lot of friends. She did a lot of activities. She was working a part-time job at, I think, a plastic injection company to save up money for after graduation. And she was actually just about to start a job. She got accepted a job to work at an electronics shop after graduation. So she was a beautiful girl. And unfortunately, Junko would not live to see 18. She would not be able to live out any of her dreams that she had in high school that many young girls have. She would never get to have the experience of meeting someone, falling in love, having her father walk her down the aisle, having kids. Everything was unfortunately cut tragically short in the most atrocious, horrendous way that no human being should ever have things done to them. So as you can see, she was a very beautiful girl. We're going to talk about a little bit of, there was four boys that did stuff to her. I'm going to introduce you to the people in the case that were the predators slash murderers in the situation. So there's 4 of them. Now, this case, I went through a lot of different sources on this case. It was really hard to kind of gauge what was correct and what was wrong. Like what was right, what was wrong, just because there was so much different information out there. The ages from like the official articles, like didn't match the articles that were translated, didn't match ones from official sources, didn't match anything. And if you know anything about like Japanese law and order, the reason they have the bars over their eyes is because in Japan and most Asian countries, they don't release the identities, the pictures of anybody that's convicted of a crime. So like when I did the thing on the nth room, it was very rare that they actually showed the face of somebody, but they were trying to make him like the poster child for like internet crimes, our crime, and you will be charged. But this one's interesting because they actually this crime was so grotesque, this murder of Junka Furuta, that a newspaper company actually got a hold of the identities of the 4 assailants, those convicted, and released their names. So they had to change their names. So the first, and these 4 people are also juveniles. Their ages ranged from 16 to 18, and don't want to give exact ages because the information on the internet mostly focused on like the atrocities they did and not so much the details. So like all the things that I read about like how she was murdered, all that kind of stuff was all the same. But like the facts, like the ages, blah, 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 this and that was all kind of like up in the air. So I just kind of picked like the average. So these 4 boys that ended up murdering Junko were between the ages of 16 and 18. So the first gentleman we have that is cited in the Japanese court documents is Miyano Hiroshi. He actually came from a really well-off family, but it was extremely, extremely dysfunctional. He was super aggressive growing up, and he had violent tendencies that even scared his own family. He was extremely bullied, and he kind of took sanctuary in judo in high school and actually showed signs of straightening out. Judo was like his safe haven from all the bullying and the dysfunctionalness of his family. But then towards the end, he got mixed up with the Yakuza in low-tier biker gangs. And in Japan, there's like the Yakuza, and then like the street thugs slash biker gangs are like a big culture. So they're not like Yakuza, but they kind of do all the dirty work of the Yakuza. So the biker gangs was something that he got mixed up in. And he did that for a while. He ended up saving some money and started doing a normal job, but he ended up becoming dissatisfied with like the type of work he was doing, how much money he was making. So he kind of just went back to doing a life of crime. Joe Ogura, also known when he changed his name, was Joe Kamisaku. He came from a divorced home, and his parents separated when he was extremely young. He lived with his mother and his sister, and he saw his father, like I think he spent a little time with his father when he was 10. But other than that, he had no father figure, nobody to show him the way. I don't feel bad for this guy at all now. He was really good at sports, but he ended up having an injury where he injured his right foot when he was skiing, and he ended up, because of the injury, becoming lazy, falling behind in studies, not trying to like better himself. And he ended up getting an apprenticeship as an electrician, but ended up dropping out of that, dropping out of night school. And then another common factor between all of these people that we're going to talk about, all of the people that do this horrendous things to Junko, is he ended up joining a motorcycle gang. But the interesting thing about Joe Ogura is that he didn't really have any signs of being a problematic child or that would bring him into a life of crime. It was mostly, I think, like the key factor in this was he became bored. He had the ankle injury, and then he kind of wanted to find somebody else because in Japanese culture, if you don't do, society is very rigid. If you don't go to school, don't get a career, don't do this, like you're kind of outside the bounds of the norm. So like he started hanging out with people that didn't follow the norm, and that just happened to be the low tier motorcycle gangs. Shinja Miyato, or also known as Nobuharu, his parents were extremely well educated, but they were hardworking, which both of them, I think, worked in a hospital. I think one was a nurse, one was a pharmacist, but they were never at home. So even if you have the best of well-rounded parents, best family life, if you're absent from your child's life, they can run awry. You don't know what they're doing. There's nobody there to put in any type of like structure. There's nobody doing any type of disciplines. So he started showing early signs of violence and being a troublemaker at a young age. And he not was just like regular, he was extremely violent. So much so that his own family was scared of him and they just sort of let him do what he wanted. And everything that happens here in the story, the place that Junko was held captive was actually at Nobuharu's house, where he also lived with his elder brother. The last person is Watanabe Yasushi. His father passed away at an early age. He didn't really have much signs of being a troublemaker growing up, but he did have issues of domestic violence when he started dating. And then after that, just some minor criminal offenses. But like I said, them and Nobuharu, they all sort of fell into that outside of society's norms, started hanging around with the thugs and the biker gangs of the Yakuza. So are we catching up here right now? I'm just going to look in the chat. Hi, Robson. Thank you, Journey Mac. It's okay. I always think nobody's listening, but then people are just like paying it, like, because I don't see people type in chat, but people really are listening. So I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I'm not going to cry during this. This is a really sad one. So let's get to the bad part. So in 1988, on November 25th, Miyano and Minato, I think it's Minato. I think I put Miyato, so please forgive me. They were walking around, and they were on their mopeds, and they were in the Misato Satima Prefecture, and they were out looking for trouble. They were going to snatch bags, do some petty thefts, and they also had the thought of, let's kill some time, so let's rape some women. Like, who goes from thinking about petty thefts to just picking up women to rape? Well, they did. So Minato, I think I put Miyato. So Minato, Nobuharu, and Miyano Hiroshi were the ones out doing this. So eventually, they spotted Junko around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. She was walking home with her bicycle, and they thought it would be a good idea to kick her bike over. So, what was it? Miyano told Minato, go kick over her bike. So he went over at the direction of Miyano and kicked over the bike. So Junko fell over to the side, and the other boy ran over and was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. There's so many bad things that happen around here. Let me help you up. That guy was crazy. Let me give you a walk home so you can be safe. So he kind of put up this like chivalrous front to try to gain her trust. But that was not the case, because Miyano was out for lust that evening. So he ended up gaining her trust and then luring her to a nearby warehouse. And he ended up saying, me and that guy that kicked over your bike, we're both Yakuza. We're going to rape you. So they said that if she did everything that they said, that they would spare her life. They wouldn't kill her. So they ended up raping her. And from there, they ended up taking her to a hotel and raped her again. So this went on into the early morning of November 26th. So that's when all the boys, Miyano, Minato, Joe, Watanabe, they all had a talk of what to do with her. And they said, well, I guess we're going to imprison and abduct her. So now we're escalating the crime. We're not just raping and killing, raping and, leaving her. We're going to abduct her. So the crime escalates very quickly. So Junko had a notebook that she used for school that had all of her family's information in it. And they said that if she didn't obey them and do exactly what they said, that they would go to her house and murder her family. So Junko reluctantly went with, and they went to they went to the house of, what was his name? See, in the documents I'm reading, it's all labeled A, B, C, D. So like I have to go back and forth. They all went back to Minato Nobuharu's house, and they brought Junko with, and that's where she was going to be held captive for the next 44 days of hell. So that picture on the left is the house that Minato was in, his parents' house. And his parents never went in his room. They were scared to go in his room. He did, I think like he might have attacked his parents a few times saying, stay out of my room. And plus they were gone working all the time anyways. So there was really nobody there overseeing everything. So they just kept Junko captive in this house for 44 days. And this is really when everything started to crumble down. It's going to get so difficult to read some of this stuff that happened. So during this time, Junko's parents obviously realized in the beginning that she was missing when their daughter didn't come home. And the crew knew that her parents would be looking for her and there would be a search party. So they forced Junko a few times to call her parents' house and let them know, hey, I'm running away. Don't look for me. So that kind of threw the cops off a little bit. Her parents were like, this is not the kind of person Junko is. But she kept calling and saying, don't look for me, don't look for me. And she kind of did what they said because they threatened to kill her whole family. And after the first rape, like, I would be scared too, and I would have done what they said. So this is where it's going to get difficult. So when she was there, she was repeatedly gang raped by all of those boys and individually raped. And I don't understand this because he had an older brother who was there too, Nobuharu, but his brother didn't get charged or anything. I do have a donation link. Can one of the mods post something on the donation link? If you go to justico.com, it has like the StreamYard and then a PayPal. If you guys, one of the mods, can post a donation link. Thank you, Effie. So the next day on November 27th, that's when she first called her parents. That she had run away from home. She's safe with friends. And she wanted the police search to be stopped. She was fine. She kept calling and telling them, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Junko did, soon after this, try to attempt to call the police. And the boys found out. And before she could really say anything, like they knew she was calling the police, Miyano picked up the phone and said, sorry, it's just a prank, it's a mistake, and hung up. And that really pissed all the boys off. So that's when the torture really began. She was basically used as a human punching bag. She was struck by metal objects, poles, foreign objects. She had things that shouldn't be inserted into her sexual organs inserted into there. She even had firecrackers. She had firecrackers and stuff inserted into her vagina and her anus and set off. And they started to burn parts of her skin off with lighters. And they beat her so badly that eventually she wasn't able to walk. And she had to crawl downstairs to use the bathroom. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, where is this kid's parents? Even if you work a lot, what the hell? Like, I know if my kid's anywhere, but like, I don't care how scared I am of my child. Like, how could you not see this? And on top of that, they had other men come over and rape her too. There was up to 100 plus people that knew that Junko was confined in this house. They even had girls come over and showed them, oh, there's Junko on the ground. They even doodled on her face, like thinking that she was some kind of joke. They ended up stop feeding her. And when she was too weak to eventually from malnutrition, from not being fed and from being beaten so severely, they made her urinate in cups and stuff. And then No, not all 100 did not get arrested. Nobody said anything. They made her drink and eat her own feces. And she was in so much pain. It was so much violence. She ended up begging the boys to please kill me, please end my life. And they refused. They just continued to torture her. They were I mean they were hostages in the sense like of their son's violence, but I don't know how you couldn't have heard all this stuff going on, but I guess that they worked a lot. But an interesting thing that I found is that at one time, before she became too like broken down to where like she couldn't walk or anything, or she became too disfigured from the beatings, that she actually went downstairs and had a meal with the boy's parents, and the mom was like, go home, go home. And her son was like, no, she's staying here. Like, really, like, was like, she's not going anywhere. And she stayed there. So the brutality of the attacks that these boys and the people that they brought over were so severe that her whole facial structure, her whole body became disfigured, completely disfigured. They said that her cheeks like were so inflamed it went up to her nose. Her skin became affected and began to smell because the infection was so bad. She had body fluids coming out of the infected sores. And eventually, the boys obviously ended up losing sexual interest in her. And interesting enough, they actually went out and raped another woman during this time when Junko was at home. And then they all ended up gang raping another girl. So eventually in January, that is the month that Junko actually died. Shit. They were deciding what to do with her. She wasn't quite dead yet, but she was such in bad shape. She pretty much was just sitting there. She was very unresponsive. She was ready to give up. And then one night, they were playing games and stuff. And who was it? They were playing games, and one of the boys got extremely frustrated with like something about the games, and he ended up beating the crap out of Junko. She was barely alive at this point. They put what was it? Miyano Hiroshi ended up pouring lighter fluid all over her legs and set her legs on fire. And she was so incapable of even mustering any type of strength. She couldn't even put it out. She couldn't even jerk. They said that they saw a little bit of movement, that she maybe was trying to like put out the flames on her legs, but she couldn't. They lit candles and they put them on top of her eyelids so the hot wax would melt all over her face. But she was so defenseless. And even after that, they pulled her up and started beating her again until she ended up falling on one of the stereo systems. And she started having convulsions and fits. So even though they knew that she was probably dying, they continued to beat her up. She had blood coming from her mouth, from her nose. She had bloody pus coming from her burns. There was blood all over the room. They ended up covering their hands, and they knew what they were doing. They knew that they were going to kill her. This was obviously premeditated in a way, because they ended up putting bags over their hands and taping them and punching her like she was a punching bag so they wouldn't get the blood and all the evidence on their skin. And they ended up taking a heavy iron ball that was part of one of an exercising machine, and they ended up dropping it on her stomach, crushing her internal organs. I know, it's getting so hard to even talk about this. So it was pretty intense. So they ended up after all this, they ended up duct taping her legs together so she couldn't around her ankles so she couldn't escape. And they left and they came back and they found out that Junko had passed away. So they were trying to decide, what should we do with her? Should we like, what should we do with the body? Should we dump it into the sea? Blah, blah, blah. They're like all here trying to decide what to do with the body. So, unlike the Futoshi Matsunaga guy, where they chopped up all the Junko in that story, they ended up taking the bodies, chopping them up, and flushing them down the toilet, which is pretty gross. But in this story, they ended up being very fearful that the murder would be detected. So they wrapped her body in blankets and put it in a large travel bag, and they dumped it in a 55-gallon barrel. And Miyano, I think it was, Miyano ended up borrowing a cement mixer and a truck from one of his old employers, and they ended up filling the 55-gallon barrel with cement. And their original idea was that they were going to drop it into the sea, which probably, if you wanted to not have it been found out, that probably would have been the best place to dump the body. But they eventually, eventually they just ended up tossing the body in the barrel on some random, like, grassy area that was not very populous at the time. So if you look here, this here is where they dropped the barrel at. So this area, as you can see back then, there was nothing there. It looks like there was like some maybe like type of factory or something there, but it was really like undeveloped. And they ended up finding her body in the barrel here. But now today, this area has some houses, I think, but it's been turned into a park. But yeah. So they ended up finding the barrel, and some of her hair was outside of the cement. I refuse to post any pictures of that. If you guys want to look it up, be my guest. But I don't want to even think about that. Just because, like, when I first started doing this, like, I'm thinking, like, this girl is still a child. She looked, like, this picture, she looks so happy, like she's ready to start her life. And, like, the way she gets to go is in a barrel. That's pretty tough. So they ended up getting caught because the police were investigating another disappearance / murder, and they were interrogating them. And Miyano and Joe were detained, and they were questioning them about another murder. And one of the boys actually said, I know we mustn't have killed her. I'm so sorry that we killed her. And the cops were stunned, and they were like, well, we didn't know that these people were killed. What the hell are you talking about? And that's when they confessed, and they told the cops where they dropped this drum at. And the cops ended up taking a crane, lifting the drum out and bringing it. And what they found in there was Junko's body. It was super badly decomposed. She had been dead for over 2 months. Her facial features were super unrecognizable. You couldn't, because of all the beatings, her face swelled up so bad. And plus her skin was coming off from being set on fire so much. So they ended up getting all of the boys arrested. Now, before I talk about the funeral and stuff, I want to get your guys' opinion. As you could already see, I already gave it up. One of the boys was released in 2009. How long do you think these boys were arrested for? And when you get this, I'm going to read you some quotes from the court about this crime. Exceptionally grave and atrocious. Violence inflicted upon a blameless victim. Inhumane brutality that can be hardly found an example in the history of crime. Erratic and relentless violence, rape, and torture. No humanity, no respect for fellow human beings whatsoever. Murdered so brutally at the age of 17, the victim's soul must be wandering in torment. And the judge said that there is no punishment that would fit the crime, and that there was no words that could describe the pain. 15 years. Well, we're about to find out when I go through this. So we'll start out with Miyano. Miyano was released in 2009. His mother ended up trying to sell their house to pay Junko's family. Junko's mom actually ended up having a mental breakdown, it's said, because after she heard the details of how her baby was ruthlessly murdered and raped for 44 days, the amount of pain she was in, the last moments of her life, what she experienced, she was just in so much mental anguish. It said that Junko's mom just lost it. So even though like the court ordered her to pay the people to pay some money, uh, they had a hard time getting Junko's family to accept it. So Miyano's mother sold the home and ended up paying around 425,000 US dollars. But he was arrested again for a crime. It wasn't like a violent crime. I think it was like a fraud crime in 2013, but he was released because there was not enough evidence. Joe Agura, aka Joe Kamisaku, he was released in 1999. They got arrested in this murder happened in 1989. He was released in 1999. Their sentences were lighter because they were minors, but still, there's 15-year-olds in the United States that are on jail for life for way less worse things than these people were. He briefly worked at a computer firm, but he ended up going back to a criminal lifestyle. He ended up confining another person later and bragging about killing a woman in his past in 2004. And my favorite quote from the article I read about that little incident was that the Japanese court wondered why 8 years behind bars failed to rehabilitate Joe Ogura. There is no rehabilitating somebody that sets a 17-year-old girl on fire who's so emaciated and so malnourished that can't defend herself and lets her flesh burn off. There is no amount of time in jail that can fix that. I like it. You guys could tell, like, I was crying almost reading that. I don't know how Japanese prisons are. I'm going to actually do some research into that. I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't know because I don't want to give false information. And if somebody ever finds out something in my presentation that's wrong, please let me know because I'd like to correct that. So, yeah, if I was the mom, I would have freaking killed Bill those entire boys or hired somebody. Death by 1,000 cuts. That's appropriate. That's appropriate death for those. So Watanabe Yasushi. I wrote this one down because there wasn't much about him, about what happened to him afterwards, because it was very scarce. What happened to Watanabe? This is so all over. I wrote it down somewhere. See, I take notes, guys. I'm not just like, but I wrote these notes on a very specific piece of paper, and I try to organize it. He got a 5 to 7 year term. He's living with his mom, and he's not worked since. So he's probably some creeper that's looking at weird porn in his mom's basement, probably plotting another weird murder. Who knows? I don't care. Hopefully somebody will off him. Shinja Miyato. I don't even know. There's like 3 different articles that were pretty credible that had different spellings. Nobuharu Miyato. This is where the house was. After this whole thing was over, they ended up demolishing the old house and building another one. Whoever just donated, thank you so much. Okay, but anyways, oh God, this guy right here. His family, his brother who knew about this, everybody that knew about this didn't get any type of punishment. I think his parents should have been held accountable because he was a minor. I don't care how much you work. Watch your damn kids for one. Find somebody to watch them, because if you're working in the medical field and you have that much money, freaking get a nanny. I don't care if they're 16 or 17. There is no reason in a society as strict and rigid as Japan that this kid should have been allowed to have gotten so bad that you were able to viciously murder some 17-year-old girl in the house. Nope. He got a 5 to 9 year term in jail. 5 to 9 years. So a lot of people are like, why didn't Junko escape? Why didn't Junko escape? I think she was mostly in fear for her life. I mean, one rape, okay, we're gonna kill you. But after the more violence started, I really think that she was. They threatened her as well that they were yakuza, and which they weren't yakuza. They were like the scum yakuza. Like they weren't even yakuza. They were biker gangs who did dirty work and errands for the yakuza that they didn't want to do because they didn't want to tarnish their name. And these were the little assholes that did it. So they were like, no, we're yakuza. We know yakuza. If you escape, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family. So she tried to escape. And it didn't happen. They said that during the trial, they showed deep remorse. But afterwards, like the one guy that confined another person afterwards, he was bragging about it. He was boasting about having imprisoned a woman. And that is the story. I think that was the last slide. Oh, I have something here at her funeral. Her parents were obviously distraught. She was actually the month the funeral started. She was actually supposed to start her new job, and her employer from her new job came and they buried her with the uniform she was supposed to start her new job. It's sad that a person life is so cut short. One of her friends at the funeral said, "Jun-chan, welcome back. I have never dreamed that we would see you again in this way. You must have been in so much pain, so much suffering. The happy we all made for school festival looked really good on you. We will never forget you. I have heard that the headmaster has presented you with a graduation certificate. So we all graduated together, all of us. Jun-chan, there is no more pain, no more suffering. Please rest in peace." So this was a video I found, and they said that there's clips of the funeral in here, but I didn't find it. I think this was a school that she went to. There's no subtitles. And he talks too fast for me to listen. They actually chased down one of the parents. This is the house that it happened at. I think. Hold on one second. I think this was the house where it happened at. Hold on. That was Nobuharu. This was his house. I'm so sorry, guys. They're speaking way too fast for me to understand. Hold on. There was a scene where they were chasing down one of the parents of the kids that murdered Junko. And she was like, I don't want to talk to the camera. Woman, you should talk to the camera. Where? Oh, here's the funeral. I just saw it. So, I think this is when they were chasing, or people were on this case after it happened. I can't find the scene from the funeral. So that's the mother of. I'm trying to read it. I can't read that fast. So we're just going to skip this. They were supposed to be part of the funeral here. Darn it, stop. I might try to translate that. So that's kind of the end of that presentation. I kind of want to stop talking about it now because it makes me sad. I think that was the parent of one of the offenders. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Excuse my French. I just can't imagine what kind of mindset you have to just Like, I can't believe, like, even if those boys invited you over to the house, like, there was girls that came over and drew on her face. Like, if I would have, I'm not, I can't imagine being in this situation. From in my situation right now, if I was one of the girls that got invited over the house, I would have played along enough to get out of there and then would have said something because I would have, that's what I feel like I would do, but I've never been in that situation. So I can't say that I could actually do that. But it's pretty fucked. Like I almost started crying. Did you guys see me almost cry? Like there's a movie made out of it. I kind of want to watch it, but I won't show any pictures from it because the movie, like, the graphics in it are so vulgar that I thought one of them was actually a photo of her body. Yeah, like when I want to think of her, I would rather think of her. Let me see. No, don't start playing that again. Like, I want to think of her like, damn it all hell. I guess I should share my screen if I want you guys to, like, see something. I want to think of her like this. I don't want to think about her as the girl encased in concrete. I don't even want to, like, I want to remember that. But can you imagine that's your child's legacy? I know I need mental hugs. Like, I mean, I don't know how Ron does it, like, talks about that stuff and doesn't cry. I cry all the time. That's worse. Oh my God. How? I just don't know. Yeah. It makes me sad. Makes me very sad. If there's any other Japanese cases you want me to look at, wasn't there a British or US? I feel like I might have heard about that, Ray J. Next, we're going to be looking. Let me see what. I have so many PowerPoints. I'm like the freaking queen of PowerPoints, and I have no apologies. That's no apologies for my PowerPoint game. Where was. Oh, we're going to be doing Sada Abe next. Sada Abe was a geisha that ended up having. Obviously, she was a geisha, so she wasn't married, but she met a married man, and they ended up having an affair. And yeah, murderous geisha. She's like the Japanese Lorraine Bobbitt. Hi, Jason Mosh. So there's a lot of interesting. And then I want to look at somebody called the Otaku Killer, but I kind of want to save that just in case Opa invites me back. So, and those of you who are around know who Opa is, so I'm not going to go crazy. But thank you. I saw one donation. Thank you to whoever that was. If you donate, just go to Just Aiko because I put myself through hell looking at this stuff. I get so sad. We are going to look back at I'm going to read the next chapter of Cannibalism in Modern China. There's 2 chapters left in that, and I'm not going to keep. It is an interesting story, Star series. I'm not going to keep drawing it out. We're going to do 2 more things on the cannibalism in China. I'm going to read the whole damn chapter instead of going halfway and be like, okay, got to stop. And then we're going to do this interesting thing called, well, not called. I have books. I have various books on Japanese cinema because I'm a Japanese cinema buff. I have this one that's called Japanese film, but that's not the one we're looking at. We're looking at this other one. I don't have it next to me with all my books, but it has some of like the lesser known creepy cult classic films. And every week I'm going to pick out like 5 or 6 random ones that I know nothing about. And we're going to kind of browse the book. I actually saw something that like you can live stream with that looks down at this angle like a camera. So I don't want you guys to like read a book with me on stream. That's kind of boring, but I'll like pick out 6 random ones and then look it up online and we'll like kind of browse through it. That's crazy. I know that in Korea, Renee, there was one of the worst pedophiles that was just released this year. Effie knows about it. And I think what happened is he ended up moving back to the same town with his wife who took him back. And his victims still live there. Like, this guy raped this little girl so bad that her intestines came out. That is effed, okay? And they didn't give him that harsh of a sentence because he was drunk. I can't even. We'll look at who wants to hear about that case. Maybe I'll do that case next. Yeah, this guy moved back to the same town as his victim, and and the girl and her family moved. I would too, but that guy should not have been allowed to move back. Nope. A whole bunch of nopes. Yep, Cho Do Soon. That was the asshole. Also, 10 minutes from where my kids live in Indiana, my ex, one of his friends from high school, had a 6-year-old daughter. 10 minutes away from where they lived, they found her body in the woods. She was molested, raped, and murdered by a 14-year-old teen. What is going on with the world, guys? And I'm not going to I don't want to sound lame and anything, but at 14, I was still playing with Barbie dolls. Okay. I'm that lame. What the hell? Mama pills. Every day that goes by, I lose more hope in humanity. That's right. But then I realize I have K-pop and I brighten up a little bit. But sometimes there's just crevices in the world that K-pop cannot brighten up, guys. And it was 3 degrees of separation that was too many degrees close. Yeah, exactly. So maybe we'll hit on that. We're going to look at the Otaku killer. But, oh, yeah, I think I got it. Okay, just finished. But thank you for the person that donated. I think that was the one. Kelly. Oh, and Brian, thank you. That makes my day. I'm not worthy. What movie is that from? I can't remember. So we're going to do a little bit of the Japanese thing, but then also I'm going to look at some stuff that's not Asian. I really want to introduce you guys to Edie Sedgwick. Does anybody know about Edie Sedgwick? Just to turn the tables to a last life, hating article. Yeah, well, the worst quote from the whole situation was after doing the Japanese ghost thing was when the judge said that her soul must be walking around in torment. And with the Japanese concept of life after death and Shinto, I keep thinking of her soul just aimlessly walking around and then seeing that there was no justice for her. That girl is going to walk around a tormented soul for the rest of her life, and it just breaks my heart. Yeah, we'll talk about Edie Sedgwick. That's going to be one of my big projects. That one's going to be a big one. What happened to Ron? Ron's on a little bit of a hiatus. I talk to him at least 3 or 4 times a day. He's doing good. He's got a lot of stuff going on, but he's getting everything in order. He's going to be back soon. He sends his love, and he says thanks everyone for the support and everybody wondering where he is. So he'll be back soon. He misses everybody, though. Misses everybody. So, yeah. That's probably going to be the end of our stream, but I want to focus on movies too, because that's my area of expertise as well. So I love Ron too. And when Ron said he was taking a break, I cried. I cried. Oh my gosh, Andreas, look at the cat in the box. But yeah, thank you everyone who sent a donation. Again, donation link. Effie can post it. Sorry to depress your entire night. Also, if you go to this link, there's a Discord, and tomorrow night we are going to be watching a movie, Phone, the Korean movie. We're going to watch it at Discord around 6:30-ish, 7 o'clock Central Time. Where last time I think we had 15 people in Discord, and I mean, the movie quality wasn't great to begin with because it's uploaded on YouTube. But we all watched the movie, and I guess it didn't falter or anything. It was great. We had a lot of fun. So join the Discord link, which is at justico.com, and we'll have a good time. Yes, Wayne's World. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming and watching. I love you, and I'm so sorry I bother you guys with just the talking streams. I'm almost so close to getting monetized, and because we hit over 1,000 followers, but I need 3,500 more hours of watch time. So if you have a TV that's a smart TV, leave my channel running while you go to work, because that will help me. But yeah, so yeah, thank you guys for coming. I love you all. Have a good night. Thank you so much, Martina. Bye, guys. Bye.